Hiya pal, how's it going? You know, I like to give people advice even if I'm not in any position to do so. So with that in mind, I was looking on Reddit for some other subreddits that we could look at, because we do a lot of relationship advice, dating advice. The regular r/advice is quite good as well for a bit more of a mixed bag. But I also came across r/life advice that I thought that we could take a look at for the first time and see whether we like that one. When clicking on the subreddit, the first two are marked as serious, with black text on a black background, so you can't actually read it. So, at the risk of being too serious too fast, I thought we would skip those and then just look at some of the other ones that the subreddit has for us. So the first one, I have no style and I'm tired of it. This is very different from anything we've looked at before. So OP says, I am a 25-year-old male, and all my life I've never been associated with a certain style, or what some call it an identity. I kind of am tired of not having one, but I don't know how to find mine. My personality is all over the place. I like horror and gothic stuff. I like pagan and witch stuff, not opposed to other religion. Pagan and witch stuff, not opposed to other religion. I like all music, so that makes me hard to make a specific music genre my style. I grew up country for half my life, city for most recent years. So in all, I struggle as I don't know how to find my identity or style. It's one thing I lack that hinders my looks and hinders me making friends, as no one can tell what group I chill with, lol. I stream games, even love the neon themes, lol. I just don't know. I feel like I'm in a crisis finding what I should do. Okay, so OP, you're 25 years old. I would hope that in this stage of your life, people aren't just judging you based on what you look like and the clothes you wear to figure out whether they want to hang out with you. Like, I totally know what you mean, especially in like a high school setting. Like, I would say music is probably the biggest factor in sort of teenage years in terms of developing your style and what kind of people you hang out with, just because, you know, at that stage of your life, that's one of the most important things you have going on, and that's absolutely fine, nothing wrong with that. I think, yeah, I mean, maybe it feels weird for you not having a style in your mid-20s, but I would say it's probably less that you don't have a style and more that you're not sure who you are, which is kind of what you've indicated in your post, that it's kind of an identity that you're missing a little bit. I would say it's not a bad thing that you're into lots of different stuff. And also, you don't have to dedicate your entire look or your entire personality to just one aspect of your personality or your interests. You know, you could have band tees, you could have comic tees, gaming tees, you could also have shirts, button-down dress shirts, polo shirts, regular t-shirts, v-necks, things like that. You know, you don't have to just have one style. Someone doesn't have to look at your wardrobe and be, oh my god, this person is obsessed with X. You know what I mean? You can do different things and be whoever and however you want to be. I would say though, if it's the case that you're kind of like, look, I'm in my mid-20s, I want to invest a little bit in my style, invest a bit in my wardrobe, but I just don't know what kind of stuff to buy, then I would say going with the basics and the classics is probably a good bet. So for someone who's 25-year-old male, as I say, some classic staples you've got are like your plain t-shirts, plain white, navy and kind of oxblood t-shirts are nice. You can go for black as well. I personally I'm not drawn towards black, but a lot of people are. But if you have some staple t-shirts with staple colours, ones that fit really well. So don't go to H&M and pick up like 10 of their t-shirts, Find a brand that makes really high quality t-shirts that will last a long time and that have a really nice cut for your body shape. That's going to be important in terms of fashion as well. So it's not just the kind of style and what sort of image you want to project yourself, it's also the fit is going to make a real difference to how the clothes appear on you and also how you feel about yourself and your body. If you're wearing something that you feel good in, that's going to project out and that's going to be part of your personality in terms of your confidence. For bottoms, I think, you know, a nice pair of jeans is always going to be a good bet. It does depend on your style, your personality, as to what kind of jeans that you would like best. I would say if you don't know what you like, start with what you know for sure you don't like, and then work your way in. So is skinny a no-no for you? Do you like the baggy style? Is bootcut totally cringe for you? Start outwards and work your way in. Some kind of chino type trouser is going to be a good idea as well. Something kind of like a light coloured trouser material would be nice. You know, you can look at different sort of fashion magazines or style influencers, whatever, to get some inspiration. I personally am not into doing that. Like, I just kind of wear a mismatch of whatever I feel like. So I'm not very good at telling you how and where to research things, but I would definitely say, you know, pick out a few of your basics, staple pieces of clothing that you can mix and match and make different outfits from, and then add to that a couple of sort of statement standout pieces, whether that's like a belt that you really like, a really nice watch, if you're into ties, you know, a couple of nice ties, or as I say, band t-shirts, geeky t-shirts, stuff like that. Experiment a little bit, you know, you don't have to figure it out straight away or invest, you know, hundreds straight away into one particular style just to find out that it's not really you or that it's not very comfortable for you. Try out some different things and just see how you get on. As I say, it seems as if maybe part of this is more about finding out who you are as a person rather than just the way that you dress. What I would say as well is, as you're experimenting with different things that you wear, try and think about how it makes you feel. You know, does a certain outfit make you feel especially good, especially confident about yourself? Does a certain outfit make you think you look good but you feel awkward? Is there an outfit that makes you feel more playful, more casual, more relaxed? Pay attention to those sort of things, you know, maybe even keep like a style journal or something like that, and just gradually notice the patterns and how you feel compared to what you're wearing. And then, as I say, sort of filter that down until you can be more specific about this set of clothing, this set of outfits makes me feel good about myself, therefore I want to wear them more often, and this feels like who I am. Does that make sense? I'm hardly like a fashion or style guru. My fashion sense is all over the place, and it's generally kind of like I wear what I fucking feel like. A lot of the time it looks weird, but I somehow pull it off in my own head anyway. I wear a lot of things that I probably wouldn't advise other people to mix and match, but I do feel like that's part of it. It's the confidence, it's the way you wear it, it's the way that, you know, I mean, take it people like, you know, Lady Gaga and Madonna, known for their outrageous wild fashion styles, you know, but somehow they fucking make it work. They pull it off because they're so confident, they're so fabulous, they're so owning it that it just looks great on them. But if you or I were to wear it, it would probably be a different fucking story, you know. So a lot of it is just how you carry yourself and how you feel in the clothes. Right, what else have we got? I can't seem to find any meaning in life. Any advice, girl? No. Boyfriend kept hat on for so long? Okay. This is relationship advice though, so let's not go into that just because we do a lot of relationship advice. Am I a failure? I don't think I'm ever going to turn around and say, yes, you are a failure. So mental health advice, maybe not so good. Let's not do the serious ones. Should I run away? Is that career advice? Let's take a look. Should I run away? I'm a 24-year-old male and have been out of college for a few years. I've been working at a business that has nothing to do with the degree I earned, and I'm stuck in a very shitty area close to home with a very bad outlook on life. Office daydreaming has me thinking that if I save enough money, I could go somewhere and do a very short-term or extended stay in an area far away, and for better lack of words, run away and try to sort some things out with myself. I would also like to try and focus on seriously starting to write creatively. It sounds cliche, and I could save money to try and find a more permanent spot around home, but I really feel the need to get away in order to make something of myself outside of my small hometown and deal with this listless feeling I have. Where would some of you go if you had a few months away? So it started out seeming like they were asking for advice. Now it just seems like they want to know where to run away to. So I'm going to ignore that question and just answer whatever I feel like in terms of should you stick at it where you are and try and save up some money, or should you just go somewhere else? And honestly, the answer to that, I think, is it depends on the kind of person you are. For me, I really need that sort of financial security because I feel that it's the security that gives me the freedom and the options and the confidence to be able to take a risk and do other things. So for me, I would probably take the route of saving up for a while, making sure that I've got something to fall back on before then fully jumping into something else, whether that is where I live or somewhere else completely. Is much of a much. It's just having that financial safety net first, so that if I don't find something very well paying initially, that I still have, some money saved away that I can use. But if you're not that kind of person, which I get the feeling that most people aren't, which is weird to me, but whatever. If you're not the kind of person that needs the financial security, if you're okay with sort of living day to day, not really knowing where the money's going to come from, and you really feel stuck where you are, and also if you're the type of person that has a mindset attachment to your physical space, like if you can't stop thinking about work until you get out of the office and put your work phone and all your work emails and stuff away, if you need to be in a physically different space in order to be in a different mental space, then sure, it might be good for you to just go away and try and start anew, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like a lot of people are that way, where they need to physically be somewhere else in order to feel like they can do other things. It's almost as if they need to draw a line under their old life in order to get into their new life and whatever it is they're pursuing next. So I'm not much of a traveller myself. I don't have any place that I fantasize about running away to or anything. But as I say, just to answer the question of whether to stay or go, it really depends on you. If you need the financial security, then stay for a while until you've got enough of savings tucked away. And if you need to be physically somewhere else, then just be physically somewhere else. You're 24 years old. The younger you are, probably the less responsibilities you have in terms of like dependents, a family, financial commitments and things like that. So fuck it, why not? Go away and do something different. You'll never know until you do it. You know what I mean? And even if it doesn't work out the way that you thought it would, there's always an adventure to be had and things to learn. It's just whether you take those opportunities to turn whatever happens into a learning opportunity and a life experience. And I think as well, if you do feel somewhat sheltered in your current home and where you are, like you feel like you're not exposed to much but you want to be, take the plunge. If that's what you really feel that you want to do, go ahead and do it. And as I say, if it does mean that for the kind of person you are, then if you want to save for 1 or 2 years first, doesn't mean you can't then do it later. It's maybe just the question of when, not whether. But yeah, there you go for that one. What else do we have? Weird question, but it's a relationship one, so I won't do that. More relationship. This is supposed to be life advice. Come on. Lost at 30, another career advice. General advice. Roommate is a shithead and I have to move out. Okay. Hi, to cut a long story short, I got a job. Decided to rent a house with a complete stranger, but kind of trustworthy because he'd been working for the same company. He turned out to be a total douche with a huge Napoleon complex. Anyway, we moved in. Wait, did you buy this place? No, you're renting the place, good. He didn't care about keeping anything clean, but I didn't care because I was happy to clean and enjoyed living in the house. I picked up after him, cleaning up a minimum of 10 bottles of the beer every day, making him food sometimes, cleaning up his messes, just treating him better than I should have. What can I say? I'm too nice. At least you know it. Fast forward 3 months and I started seeing someone. Then my POS roommate. Then my roommate gets a girlfriend. When he started seeing her, the change was so quick. He stopped drinking and passing out all day. He stopped talking about other women. But he also started becoming picky about the state of the house. It was surreal. Like, dude, you didn't do jack shit for the first 3 months, and now you're sending bitchy messages about the state of the kitchen while I'm using it to make lunch for myself and my boyfriend? He went from being drunk and chill to bitchy and just annoyed with me. It's so upsetting how ungrateful he is. I helped him move in. I made sure he ate. I cleaned the living room, the kitchen, took out the trash, put out the trash, and brought it in. A lot about the trash. Fuck. Then he found out I wanted to move out at the end of the year and wouldn't renew the 6 months lease with me. I know it is because he's insecure about something, I don't know what, but I'm just so mad. I am subletting from him. In the end, I have to move out soon. All of this is to ask, how should I approach the move out? Am I liable for half of the utilities, which fine, I have to pay a move out cleaning fee, and he has my deposit. Google says to hang on to my keys until he gives my deposit back. Any advice on how to manage moving out would be appreciated. And petty revenge advice would also be accepted, thank you. If you're fucking talking about the legal ramifications and your fucking obligations as a subletter, then no, I don't think you should try and get revenge. I don't think that's going to end up very good for you. What is it you said? So, he found out that I wanted to move out at the end of the year and wouldn't renew the 6 month lease with me. So when was this posted? This was only posted earlier today, and this is the end of August. So basically, he knows that you want to move out at the end of the year, which is just under 6 months away. Therefore, he won't renew the lease for you for another 6 months. Okay, I don't think there's anything that you can do about that. How should you approach moving out? I don't understand the fucking question. When does, we haven't said when your lease actually expires. Because why are you saying I'm liable for half of the utilities, which is fine? Liable so long as you live there, so long as you have the lease. But how long is the lease, and are you planning to move out before then? I'm sorry, this doesn't make any sense. You're allowed to live there until your lease is up, and until your lease is up, you have to pay for half the utilities if that's in your contract. Read your contract. It depends on the contract. If the contract says you need to pay half the utilities, then yes, you have to pay half the utilities until the bill is up, until the lease is up. If it says you have to pay X amount every month towards utilities, then that X amount is how much you have to pay towards utilities, no matter how much the utilities actually cost. I don't understand why this is a question, honestly. Yeah, and as I say, I'm not going to give revenge advice. So yeah. And it wasn't really about the roommate being a shithead, to be honest. That was completely besides the point. Whatever. Does age difference matter between friends? If it's not dodgy, then no. So OP is a 20-year-old female and says, I'm in college and there's an older student who's a 40-year-old female in my class who wants to be friends. This woman is in the same small program as me, so we've had classes together in the past, and we currently have 2 classes in a row together with a bunch of my friends from other classes and projects I've done. She wants to be friends and hang out outside of school, and she's expressed to me in the past that she doesn't have any girlfriends since she's come back to college and had a rough past with an abusive ex-husband. I've had friends who met her and disliked her upon first meeting her, but I don't know it's because of her age or because of her personality. I don't think an age alone is a reason to dislike someone. Maybe their age means that you have different interests in life, but you shouldn't immediately dismiss someone just because of how old they are. That's not fair. My friends in the classes I mentioned before seem to like her though. She said some things that are red flags in the past, but I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially when she's had such bad relationships in the past and struggled to fit in college. I don't feel super comfortable hanging out, but I can't tell if it's because of the age gap, previous red flags, or just because of my autism and social anxiety around new people and acquaintances. I'm close friends with a 30-year-old because he's dating my sister and we clicked instantly despite our age gap. So is it weird to hang out with this woman outside of school? I think your question started out being as one thing, but then it turned into something else. So I think the most obvious thing is the 20-year age gap, so that's why you're asking about that initially. But in actual fact, you're saying that she has said some things in the past that have been a red flag, and that you're also autistic and have social anxiety around new people and acquaintances. So what I would say is, you've obviously got other friends and met other new people in the past. So how did meeting those new people compare to meeting this new person? Did you have the same social awkwardness and anxiety around meeting them and hanging out with them as you do with this woman? If not, that's probably not what it is. What kind of red flags are we talking about here? Because sure, giving someone the benefit of a doubt, but also if you find that you're constantly giving the people the benefit of a doubt and then having that kind of come back at you and it ends up that they're not a nice person after all, maybe this is your subconscious trying to tell you, hey, we've done this in the past and it hasn't worked out. And I know, or I get the impression that you feel sorry for her because it's kind of like, well, she's had abusive relationships in the past, she's struggling to make friends here, but that doesn't make it your responsibility to be her friend now. You know, like, you don't have to take her under your wing just because you feel bad for her. If she, like, you haven't even said whether or not you like her. You said that some of your classmates like her, but some of your other friends immediately don't like her. Do you like her? I think that's what you need to figure out. I mean, what was it you said that it's like, you don't feel super comfortable hanging out? To be honest, whether you don't feel comfortable hanging out because it's the age gap, because it's the red flags, or because of other factors, as long as you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel comfortable. You said that you have another friend which is 10 years older than you who you're close friends with. So this is double that age gap, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just blanket uncomfortable with hanging out with older people. But if for whatever reason you're uncomfortable, I don't think you have to force yourself into that situation just because you don't have a hard reason not to. I think being uncomfortable is reason enough. I mean, feeling awkward is one thing, but actually feeling like this doesn't feel right is another. So I would say the age seems to be the most obvious factor that you're kind of thinking of, but it probably isn't the real thing that's going on here, just based on what you said and my own biases. So I don't think it's weird to hang out with this woman outside of school, but you've already said that it's uncomfortable. So if you don't want to do it anymore, just don't do it. All right. Okay, good. Let's see if we can find one more good one to do. Life advice, that's so vague. Let's see if we can find what the general question is and see if we want to answer it. Are there any remote jobs? No, I don't want to answer remote job questions. How do I make plans for the future? So Opie asks, I grew up in poverty with a family just barely keeping our heads above the water. For my entire life, we've pretty much always just been surviving and not really living. My parents' philosophy was basically to cut out everything and just work as much as possible. As a child, I grew up extremely isolated and did almost nothing. I was bored and depressed pretty much all the time. My grandparents bought me a couple of video games, and during school season, I would use the school library. I was so in the summertime? I don't know what that means. I didn't get to have extracurriculars or hang out with other kids outside of school. Now I'm an adult in a much better place, but I really don't know what to do with myself outside of work. I tend to work as much as possible for the most part. I'm trying hard not to burn myself out. I will get burned out if I'm not careful, but when I'm home, I feel like crawling out of my skin in boredom. I've decided to try to plan out things to try in the coming year, but I'm not really sure where to start. Everything seems expensive, unpleasant, and uncomfortable. What do people do when they're not working? I do find this somewhat relatable in terms of that when I was growing up, I was never allowed to do any of the things that I wanted to do. I wasn't really even allowed to go to other people's houses or have other people come to my house. So I was really socially isolated in that respect, and any potential hobbies that I wanted to try out, I also wasn't allowed to do. I wasn't even allowed to learn how to swim when everyone else in school was being taken by the school to a swimming pool to learn how to swim. I wasn't allowed to do that. And as such, as an adult, I also really struggle to even know what I like, never mind to have hobbies that I keep up on a regular basis. And I also have been the type of person that focus more on work than anything else. So when you realise that working all the time isn't healthy for you, and that you either have already burnt out or you're close to burning out, it is an awkward shift and an unusual shift to start essentially looking after yourself more than you look after someone else's business, because that's what it essentially is coming down to. You're prioritising your work, you're prioritising somebody else's profits before yourself, your own wants and needs and well-being. And I think that really is the first thing that you have to kind of come to terms with in order to figure out what else there is to do and to be somehow concerned and occupied with in your life. What things do you need and want and like in your life? What ways would you like to feel? What things did you want to try when you were younger and you were never allowed to? And those things, certainly for myself, seem to now have a huge barrier and a huge wall around them, because they've been being built up so much in your head as this huge big thing that you are not allowed to do. And somehow as an adult, even though you now are the only person in charge of what you are and are not allowed to do, it's been so kind of drummed into you from forever, from when you were a baby, that you cannot and should not do those things, that it's difficult to start. It's really fucking difficult to start. So for example, you'll see in the background of some of my videos that I started painting again. I had not done that in many years, probably over a decade now. I hadn't painted at all, and I wanted to paint. I didn't paint. I bought things to paint. I didn't paint. I thought about painting. I didn't paint. And two things that helped me is, one, going to ergotherapy. That really helped me because it's a space to, among other things, just be creative for the sake of being creative. It's not about the productivity. It's not about what you get in the end. It's not about the result. It's just about the process of doing it and enjoying what you're doing in the moment, and then have nothing else, you know? Like, you don't need to have something else to show for it, but just doing the thing was enough in itself. That was one thing that really helped me. And the second thing that helped me, I know you make the point here about things being expensive, but another thing that helped me was to go to like a 3-hour workshop, which wasn't really what I thought it would be, to be honest. I thought it would be kind of like a painting class to learn like some of the fundamentals and how to work with the medium, but it wasn't really. It was more just a place where all the materials were there for you, and if you wanted to ask any questions to the teacher, then you could. But that also helped me because it was kind of like just to do like a piece. It's not even finished. I didn't finish it, and I'm not even sure that I want to, because it's not the kind of thing I would normally paint. But just being in that environment and having that dedicated time to say, well, I've already paid for it, and it's a class at a scheduled time, so I can't just not do it, I have to go. And then just literally putting the paint to the brush to the canvas, it just somehow unlocks that wall, that barrier. You know, it's like this dark cloud, this thick fog around this activity that suddenly just disappears, and you start to realise, not only in your mind but in your body, that it's actually not that big a deal, and it opens the door for you to keep doing it again in the future. So yeah, that was a couple of months ago, and now I'm painting fairly often. So yeah, that would be some advice that I would give you, to think about the things that you actually want and need, to think about the things that you wanted to do as a child and never were allowed to. And then thirdly, I would say just try things out, you know, see what kind of stuff that your friends are into and ask if you can join them one time, or look on like a site like Meetup and see like what sort of things are going on in your area, and just try one of these groups, you know, try something that you've never done before just to see what it's like. And there are paid for things and there are also free things that you can try out just to see whether you like it. And if you don't like it, that's fine, move on to the next thing, at least you've done it. But it really is those things, it really is one of those things where I think starting is the hardest part, but once you do start, it's like, it's not a big deal anymore. And then the more things you start, the more other things you feel able to start, until you find your thing that then actually you quite like doing that and you look forward to doing it, and you don't feel as if you have to spend all your time working anymore. And then it becomes a nice thing for you finally to not work, and then maybe you finally start taking your full holiday allowance for the year. All right, cool. those certainly were very different. I think there were a lot of ones that we skipped past because they were just relationship advice and a life advice subreddit. But I think that was decent. I think I'll keep that in my my pocket of non-relationship advice ones to look at. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of all that down below, and if there are any other subreddits that you think might be good for me to look at, then let me know as well in the comments. I do have some other videos that you can check out here as well. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye.